Hey, it's Dr. Kenton Wakes Up. Today is January the 11th, 2024. It's a Thursday. Thursdays have a valence all their own. I don't know if it's as bad as what Douglas Adams' character used to say. They couldn't get the hang of Thursdays, but it's very similar to that. Thursday's an interesting day. Today, on the old menu of options, I've got three more interviews that I'm a part of. I'm on the committee, not the interviewee, trying to fill they call it a lecturer. The role is called lecturer. And what does a lecturer do? Well, they teach they call a full-time slate of courses, usually four a semester. Um, the expectation on a lecturer is a little lower uh, than on the full time, the tenure track. But here we are. All right, well, it's turned chilly again. And just like I mentioned a couple of episodes ago, when winter weather's on its way, you can bet that my mom is going to send me a text. So I woke up this morning to some pictures from my mom and a screenshot of their impending weather, which is not necessarily correlated with my weather, even in a couple of days. Sometimes we get the same system coming across, sometimes not. Um, anyway, yesterday, big achievement unlock. I have this on the recommendation of a friend. He suggested that I buy myself an RTL SDR tuner dongle. It's not anywhere near what it sounds like. What it is a device you plug into a standard USB port on your computer, and then you plug in a suitable antenna, and you can listen to FM, shortwave, AM, weather radio, my personal favorite. So yesterday, I've been uh, trying to find accurate documentation that pertains directly to this version of the dongle, which is slightly different than all the others before it in its series. It's been difficult. But yesterday, I saw in a, I just say this as clearly and obviously as I can, in a one sentence line on the vendor's webpage. It tells you how to deal with high frequency. At one point in time, that's high frequency is anything below 30 megahertz, I guess. Um, in previous versions of this dongle, you had to have a special antenna and what they call an up converter, so that it takes a frequency in that lower number of megahertz bands and adds a carrier frequency onto it that you can then tune in the very high frequency band range that the standard dongle and software pair can deal with in a sane way. Well, it turns out on the blog or the page I was telling you about, the vendor's own webpage, it says You don't need a up converter. You don't need to change the frequency you're listening to. You just tune in the frequency. Well, it turns out there's an AM radio station right here in town. 1550. I don't have the call letters. I'm sorry. Which is 1.55 megahertz, deeply in the 0 to 30 megahertz range. Well, I tuned that sucker in, made my dipole antenna into the physical configuration that it suggested, and sure enough, came in crackly, but still you could hear human voices singing because it's I don't know, a gospel station, a Christian radio station. Anyway, gospel station. You could hear people on 1.550 megahertz or 1550, 1550 kilohertz, which is an AM band, 1550 AM. So anyway, that was pretty neat. Don't need any of that extra fancy stuff unless you want to pull a signal in from further than, say, 10 miles away. Then you need either an extremely long wire, because and I don't know this. I'm just reciting information that I read. You can either have a half wave, which means your antenna is half the distance of a full sine wave distance. You divide the speed of light by the frequency to get yourself the wavelength. Divide that by half, and that gives you the length of your half wave antenna. Or by a quarter. Apparently, a quarter works too. In any event, each of those is hundreds of feet, especially on a very small number of kilohertz, megahertz, high frequency, as they call it. That means the waves are further apart, measured in meters, 39-inch aliquots, rather than, I don't know, feet, 12 inches or. So I've got the problem on the run. But it appears that if I want to tune in anything on the shortwave range, which is, euphemistically referred to by the length of its band, 2 meter band, the 4 meter band, the 70 millimeter, whatever it is, 70 meters, I don't remember. Again, I'm just reciting from memory. I'm going to need a specialized antenna. So anyway, I gave $30. See, I'm from the Midwest. I paid $30 to get the dongle, a an antenna, a longish antenna cable, a dipole antenna, T they call it, because it can separate the antennas. Your a dipole antenna is like the kind that you had for rabbit ears, where it extends out, and you can set the length of the antenna if you measure very carefully. Cheers. No cream today. Delicious. Anyway, so that's what I learned yesterday. Don't need any additional fancy things to make the dongle work the way it's intended, but you probably do need an antenna if you intend for it to pulling things from far away, or more than just your immediate vicinity. All right. Well, house cleaners come today. I mentioned the 3 interviews. That starts in like an hour and a half. So I gotta get busted. I need to appear on Zoom. So anyway, have a great day. Remember, as always, love you. Bye.